All right. Okay. Hello, guys. I think this will be a short hangout. I messed up with a demo. I was supposed to do a GraphQL demo to kick things off, but for some reason I don't know what's happening. I just messed up. And as I told Matthias here, Edgesoft, I was trying to fix it while the baby was crying like crazy, and my mother is visiting as well, which means it's insanely stressful. So it's probably something simple to fix, but yeah, it was just way too stressful. So we'll have to do that next time. But like, I do have that video out on it, and there's not that much new stuff. What's basically missing there is having like composing in, so when you write out your query for the component, you should be able to compose in like props from the component or state. So for example, you grab the ID from the state tree. So that's not in there. And also handling pagination. How do you pronounce it? Pagination. Yeah, pagination. Because that has like, there are 3 different kinds of paginations for GraphQL. Kind of, you can just ask for stuff, and then there's these edges, and then you have a cursor version of edges, and then yeah, a relay version of edges where you have more info and stuff. I have some ideas on how to solve it, but it's not ready yet. Cool. And there's we should really have our own GraphQL session, because there's so many people looking into it using different clients. So it would be nice to share some experience on that. Because you've been using it, haven't you, Matthias?
Yes, I have my own GraphQL backend, and I'm using. I've tried Apollo client and Locka.
Okay.
Right now, yeah, but I haven't tried the Cerebral GraphQL yet.
Yeah, but like Locka and Apollo is like on each of the edges. Like Locka is probably the most simple one, and Apollo is the most complex one.
Yeah, Locka is super simple. It's just sending queries, and it has a very simple cache. And the Apollo client have a huge cache. I think I've looked at Relay and Relay 2, and Relay has overdue the cache, I think. So they are trying to, yeah, they're going another approach in the Relay 2.
Okay.
Which is quite interesting, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it was. It has been fun, like trying to build a client for it, because it's a lot of stuff. Like it looks so simple. Like you just have the query, and it does a lot of stuff automatically. But like these optimizations, is actually quite complex, and especially when we talk about denormalizing and normalizing. Having that work automatically, it's not an easy problem to solve, but it is solvable. So it's really, I'm really looking forward to show off more of the Cerebral version of it. But yeah, for later.
So maybe have you planned to have GraphQL in for 2.0? Or
no, it's going to require quite a bit of testing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there are a couple of other pressing things for the release. We'll get back to that. So yeah, so I should just, I had like, you know how you get this idea and you have to explore something and you just dive into it. At the same time, you should focus on something else. But I'm like finished now. I'm prepared to focus on the parts that really matter for the release. Cool. Let's see. I have. Yes, maybe I can show this slide here. So what I thought we could just talk about, try to conclude on one thing, that is blocking release, and that is naming packages. Because we explored different things, and function tree suddenly became its own thing, and we are combining like function tree on the server, and especially with Firebase, they are even connected, like the Cerebral Firebase and the function tree Firebase, and what are we going to call these packages? So they are consistent. How do I, let's see, share screen. Oops. How do I do this? There we are. Okay. Well, present, there it is. So basically there are two different ways to which I've thought about how we should have consistent naming without overdoing it, because now we have, maybe I should list up a couple of packages we have. So like now we have Cerebral router, we have Cerebral forms, but we also have things like Cerebral provider Firebase, and we have Cerebral module, what's it called? User agent. And then we have function tree, and we have function tree Firebase admin, which actually is a provider. So it's very inconsistent how these things are named, because forms is also a provider. So how can we make this more consistent? I have a couple of suggestions here. One suggestion is to just not having what it is as part of the name. Like, is it like, because one thing is like, what is it related to? Like, is it Firebase, user agent, and that stuff? And then it's the next level is like, is it a module? Is it a provider? And then the next level again is like, is it on the client or is it on the server? So I don't think that really matters in the name. What's important is that it's like, is it a Cerebral thing or a function tree thing? And what is it related to? So basically what I'm suggesting on the first here is to just remove what type it is. We don't have to put in provider or module in the name. So we can just say Cerebral and function tree, and then for Firebase, we just say Cerebral Firebase. And for example, Cerebral user agent, Cerebral forms, yeah, and Cerebral router and all this stuff. And then it's rather in the documentation of the package if it's going to be used as a provider or a module, because that's already in the documentation. And what I like about that is that it can actually change. Like maybe we bump a major version on Firebase, for example, as it needs to be a module instead of a provider, because it needs to have its own set of signals and state and stuff like that. So just removing exactly what it is from the name gives them freedom to change its internals, if that makes sense. But then again, we do have some packages that will have like a long name, but like as a developers, we don't spend time writing import statements. So what I think is important is just to make it consistent. So for example, function tree Firebase admin, that's like, okay, it's function tree and it's related to Firebase admin. So it kind of like has to be named that way, but at least it's not named like function tree provider Firebase admin. Yes, did that make sense? Like the explanation at least? Because the alternative is to use a namespace. So NPM has like a namespacing thing, and you see like Angular and Cycle.js are a couple of examples using namespace. But like you can't import from the namespace itself, as I understand it. You have to, it's just like a pointer into like the organization Cerebral. So we would have to kind of like rename the repo for Cerebral itself. Or of course we could add Cerebral, but that's kind of weird. We could call it controller, but that's also kind of weird because it's not only the controller. So you would like have to do dev tools like this, or operators, or tags, which means that. Sorry?
What about core? What about core? Cerebral core?
Yeah, you could use core. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So in terms of length, it would.
And we don't have to put Cerebral itself on the namespace, so it could be root Cerebral published as is now.
What do you mean? Without this, you mean?
Just Cerebral without. No. Only core Cerebral left as is it now. Cerebral without at.
Without at, yeah.
Just Cerebral, and all other stuff under the namespace.
And sorry,
Also possible.
Oh, you mean only Cerebral here, and then at on the other ones, or you mean Cerebral like this?
No. All other stuff under scope. So for Cerebral / form, Cerebral / something, all it's under the scope.
Yeah, so like it looks now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's also a possibility. Okay, let me copy that. Yes, because my point was that if we had like Cerebral /port, for example, all the this is taking up too much space. Let's see. Like that, yes. So like if you wanted to import like the tags, you would have to do this, and the dev tools like that, and the operators like that. And you use those import statements quite often. So I just made the argument that it shouldn't matter, but still, like, it's better to have only Cerebral, I think, because then you just do tags and operators, and it doesn't change the way it works right now. But I don't know if it's inconsistent that some of them are behind the namespace and some of it is not. Alexei, do you see an issue with the first approach? Do you have like a favorite approach?
Let me a minute or two.
Yeah. Does anybody else have like a favorite? This is really hard.
So yeah, okay. So the server-side stuff should be in at Cerebral.
Yeah, or like you don't really know. It might be client-side, it might be server-side. Like what's kind of confusing here is that Firebase admin, that belongs to like function tree. Well, Firebase belongs to Cerebral.
Let's say a new developer comes in. How would they know if they would choose Firebase or Firebase admin? Of course, they will read the docs, maybe, but
yeah,
it wasn't that long ago that they Firebase themselves had just Firebase.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. It's and also like it might be like now we have Cerebral Firebase, and the reason it's Cerebral Firebase and not function tree Firebase is because it has some Cerebral specific functionality for triggering signals and stuff. But you might want to have actually a function tree Firebase for non-Cerebral related projects. Like maybe somebody wants to use function tree with some other stack, but still use Firebase. So that's the thing, like Cerebral is so close to function tree, but function tree is its own project. So I think it's nice to kind of like separate them. Yeah, but I can throw them up in an issue, and then we can basically just vote on them. I can like create an issue with an explanation, and then I add 2 comments where each comment is an approach, and then we can just vote on it.
Yes.
But yeah.
Garth, have you followed the discussion here? About the name stuff?
We can't hear you, Garth, even if you're unmuted. I don't know what happened.
Okay, I'm here.
Hello, Alexi. Oh, let me share my screen again. Yeah, I asked if you have like a favorite in the packaging naming approaches.
I think we had a discussion about making some operators and tags available for function tree.
Yeah.
And I think it could be exposed safely under the scope rather than under core Cerebral.
Yeah, when you say core, you mean?
I mean the current Cerebral package. So we have now Cerebral operators, and we can't use it with function tree in any way. So we can have, as you said, a documentation section for operators and just list which ones supports just function tree, which one supports both, or just Cerebral.
Do you want to install them separately from Cerebral, or?
We can make Cerebral dependent on it.
Oh yeah, like yeah.
But use add Cerebral / on imports.
Oh yes, I mean like so you have Cerebral, but at Cerebral operators.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just so unsure about the sharing operators and tags. Like I want it to work. I just don't know how it would look.
I think we discussed some approach on it, but I can't remember where it was.
Okay,
what about just having like at Cerebral -modules and at Cerebral @providers but you don't want to specify modules and providers? Christian.
Oh yeah, ideally. I'm sorry if let's see. Just okay. This is one, and then this is. What was your suggestion now, Matthias?
No,
Cerebral.
it's not, yeah, I don't know if it's a suggestion. I'm just like I don't think it's terrible right now. Actually, I don't see this being better?
Cerebral/models with
Can you
npm package, and we can't nest it.
Okay.
So it would have a version and published as one package. So it's not the way we can take.
Okay. So Alexei, can you describe what the issue is with how we name packages right now today?
At least we must remove type. You can see that all of the suggestions doesn't have type in it. I think it's important.
Yeah. So basically, it's a question of like to
use the scope or not to use.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter, like, the least we should do for the release is to remove the types. And then the big question is, should we also move over to scopes? Yeah.
And it's not a very easy question.
Yeah, but what are like the benefit of having a scope, like, other than that it looks kind of cool? Does it give real value, like, or is it just a way to, or just a different way of doing it?
I think your suggestion, Christian, was good. We throw up an issue on GitHub.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah, well, I'll do that. I have to note that down so I don't forget. Issue for deciding packages names. Okay, and then we have a quick vote on it, and then, because if it was like a huge argument for doing one over the other, we would have that argument. So it's like it's not going to break anything or make things difficult, no matter which way we go. So it's more of a preference thing. Cool. So that's one thing. Great. The other thing is I actually had a different slide here on the router, but there has been some activity there the last couple of days because Alexei has been working on the great router, which is super awesome. But as I understand, Alexei has had a lot of stuff to do at work, and he's also managing all the complexity with Lerna and publishing and all this stuff, so it's a lot to cover. But Gaspard had a deep dive into the code, and also Henry started looking into it, and then I got inspired and I jumped on it as well. So we actually have quite good control on the router now. So I think we should just finish that and make that the official router before release, because it should be right around the corner. And it basically works just like the current router. It just has added functionality, which is basically explicitly map like queries and params, either from like, I can just show you. So when you define, just ignore the syntax, it's not 100% decided. So basically, I would do something like this, signal page routed, for example. So this is what we basically do now. But what we can do instead with the new router is to say map page to state page, for example. So what happens here is that when this route is hit, it will just set the page value directly into the state tree. And what's kind of cool is that it's two-way binding. So if you change the state page, the page state inside the state tree, it will actually update the URL for you. But you can also trigger a signal related to that. And you can also map, for example, let's say you wanted to trigger models, for example. So you went to the URL admin model register or something. You could say, I want to map model to props model, for example. So you can be explicit about what from the query is supposed to be moved into the signal, which is really nice, just for safety reasons, like so people don't add a bunch of query stuff that's moved through your signal. So that's like the added feature. But as I said, basically it works the same way other than that. So yeah, that's really awesome. And it's kind of nice to see now the kind of contributions to the project. It seems like it has kind of like leveled up, because people are diving into more complex stuff like the router, but also I don't remember his name, but Reflog. He dived into having auto update for the debugger, for example. So it's really cool to see contributions at that level as well. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for that. Of course, like everything is very, very appreciated, even just a typo on the website. But also like making the router great again and helping out with the debugger and stuff. It's really, really awesome.
There was another great contributor, yourself.
Yeah, writing a bunch of tests, and there was some error handling he fixed and stuff. It's super awesome. But yeah, it's not to value one type of contribution over another. All of it is super, super great. But it's just been a new kind of contributions lately, and it's really, really cool. Yes, so instead of talking about what is missing related to the router, or if we should have the current one or the new one, we should have the new one, and we're on the train heading in the right direction or something. Yes, so Alexei answered a question earlier, like what is left related to release. And what's really nice now, it's been quite some time without any like API changing kind of stuff. It has only been fixing documentation. There's been some more explicit errors and stuff, but like there's no changes to how function tree works or signals work or operators or whatever. That's really cool. There is work on other packages like GraphQL and stuff, but that's not blocking release. The reason the router kind of blocks the release is because it's such a core package. Yes, so we have to vote on the naming of the packages. So Alexei has a chance to figure out how to release all this stuff with Lerna, but at least then that's not a big question anymore, the naming of the packages.
Dobrze, możesz spokojnie, naprawdę. Konferencję powiedział, no idź stąd.
Oh. Henry, do you have a chance to mute your mic? Oh well, it's okay. Henry? Yeah, thanks. Great. Yes. And then change logs and release notes. Is this something you want to automate, Alexei, or just figure out a routine for handling it?
I think it's related to previous point.
Okay, so it's okay. So Lerna can actually handle that stuff?
Yeah, I hope.
Okay, cool. How is the state of that project now? Does it?
It's also coming to 2.0 release, and now in release candidate stages.
Oh, great! That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, and then it's the debugger auto update. I haven't found time to review the Reflog's pull request because there are some challenges there, because it's not only to implement the auto update, it also needs to work with like Travis and stuff, because the way it works is that I think we have like, and it's different on different operating systems. So yeah, we need two things. One thing is like handling the update in Electron. That's the easy part. But then I think we need accounts on different services to actually handle the update related to like Windows and Mac and stuff. And then we need to create the build routines, like for Travis, to actually push the different builds to the different services. Again, I haven't looked deeply into it, but I'm afraid it's quite complex. And even though I would ideally want that to be part of the release, I'm afraid of making it like a blocker, because it might take a lot of time. So I would say it's like a pending thing until it's reviewed how much work it is to make that make it work. Because yeah, it is annoying to keep going in and updating the debugger, especially because everyone using Cerebral isn't on the Discord channel. But I think we would manage, for example, like using Twitter. Like Cerebral's Twitter account hasn't been very active, but that's because we haven't released yet, really. So we have like alternatives until we get that auto updating thing up and running. But yeah, let's just review it first and see how much work it is, and then we'll just have to make a decision on that. Yep. So to conclude, I think like I will create the issue right away when we're done here for naming packages, and just try to conclude on that as fast as possible, because then Alexei is free to figure out the rest of the stuff with Lerna. And then I will look into this debugger auto update thing and see if we can squeeze that in before the release. And of course the router, but that is yeah, 3 people working on it now, so it's right around the corner. Cool. I do also have, like, I always have a list with stuff. So there are like small things, but it's related to like making better errors and stuff like that, and it's not critical for release. Does anyone else have something they feel is like urgent or super important before the release? Or does people feel happy? If Hypertracker was saying, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for some stuff on the Firebase admins. I think we could implement more stuff that is on the Cerebral side of Firebase, maybe. That is not critical to 2.0. So
yeah, exactly.
So I also think we are ready for semantic questioning, and there will be easy to introduce just major versions if we need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get on the correct versioning train. I have a lot of train references today. I don't know why, but yeah, it's nice to see. Like, for example, Angular. Like we kind of use this number 1, number 2, number 3, and there's like maybe a year or 2 in between. But like it's no problem. It's just to bump the major version if you did a mistake, or yeah. And I think people are getting really eager to get this release out. So, and me personally as well, there's been some tough months. Like there's always something coming up, and it's this balance of holding back, or risk being too early. So, but it's been Alexi and me. We have been holding, this rope game where you drag the rope from opposite sides. And Alexi is really strong, which is a good thing, because it would be really bad if we released too early. But yeah, looking at the commit history now, we're getting like some facts behind it. Like there hasn't been any major changes at all. So yeah, I feel confident. Sweet. Does anyone have anything they want to show to make up for my horrible GraphQL failure?
No, but I have a question. Alexi, do you think that, I think that contribution is easier, a lot easier, but do you think that we could even make it more easy to contribute? I think that, in a monorepo, it's great, but it's still,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think the only thing we have to emphasize a bit better is how you actually run the monorepo, because it seems that this npm run setup is getting missed sometimes. I've seen that been asked a couple of times. And also maybe some instructions to how to run the monorepo with your existing app. I haven't actually made that. Has anyone done that? Like using symlinks or something to directly from the monorepo? Or maybe we can just use an alias in Webpack. I don't know, but I think that will be valuable because people usually have something in their app that's not working or they want to try out, and then it should be easy to just connect it to the monorepo and try it out. And then if it, like they hack on it, and if it works, then they'll create a good pull request with tests and stuff. At least that's how I usually do things.
Yeah, so it would be great to have some sort of documentation on how to do this, because right now I think I just a Firebase function tree and I did my stuff, and then I built it and I took the lib folder and copied it into my 5 projects that needed it.
Yeah,
and that is not very
yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. And also one thing that
I think good old npm link command should work with monorepo as well.
Yeah,
it's nothing changes here. So we just go into package that you want to link into your project and just use it. It's standard way to linking the dependencies in development.
Yeah, I'll test.
Oh yeah, sorry, but sometimes I actually want to have the branch in a production.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
On that, because right now I really need some stuff that is not in. It's in a branch.
Yeah.
But it really depends on your infrastructure as well. So maybe you need just a custom service npm or you can just hack in locally. It depends, in fact.
Yeah, but at least having the possibility to link locally, I think that will improve chances of contributions anyways. And then, yeah, putting those things into production might be a bit harder, but at least it's one step in the right direction, I think. And also, I've been pretty bad at reviewing because I've been. It's actually mostly GraphQL's fault. I just got completely obsessed by it, and that's also what I'm really looking forward to with the release is kind of like tone down the coding and step up the reviewing and issues, because yeah, that I think it's the worst thing is like someone contributing and then it takes days before they even get feedback. That's not the way to handle an open source project. So that needs to change. Cool. But I don't know. Maybe we should just. I had only an hour today, so maybe we should just stop there, and I'll create the issue, and then we can set up a new Hangout to share some GraphQL stuff. That will be fun, and then we can. And then I'll of course just keep you updated related to these final things that blocks the release, and hopefully it's right around the corner. Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah.
Sweet. That's great. Maybe it was a bit for others who are watching this. It might have been they probably turned off already. It was maybe a bit boring without any demos and stuff. But yeah, can't be fun all. It's just like I tell my girlfriend, it can't be fun all the time. So I'll just wish you a pleasant evening, and we'll talk on Discord.
Yeah, same to you. Great work as always.
Yeah, you too.
And GraphQL stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, bye-bye then.
Bye-bye.